guys, see, let's what generally literature review impact we are having in our mind is simply that we have to read the articles that are published that are already evidences that are published, and then we need to just evaluate those evidences and just if somebody wants to write an article, then it's just a narration of those evidences. But actually the current trends, it has changed a lot with related to the literature reviews, scientific literature reviews. And I must say that writing a scientific literature review is not just jotting down the evidences available. It involves lots and lots of the critical analysis as well. So, if I have to define a scientific literature review, I may say I have written a very one line definition, that is, a scientific literature review is a synthesized summary with and without critical analysis of published evidences, right? So, what happens that without critical analysis in India, we most of the time we are still following the pattern of literature reviews without critical analysis. But now the current trend, and as a medical writer, you have to specifically upgrade your skills for writing literature reviews with critical analysis. Okay, so I'll let you know that how the field of literature reviews have changed from just simple narrative literature reviews to the critically analyzed literature reviews. So anyhow, but whatsoever, with or without critical analysis, we will be doing it. We will be conducting a literature review for the second time only. If it is first time, then it's an original study. But if you are writing a review, but the evidences required to write a review are always the secondary evidences. The primary evidences are the data that we are writing, and secondary evidences, we are now from the primary evidences, we are accumulating those primary evidences and generating the secondary evidences. So, what's the importance of scientific literature reviews? In case of the medical field, it is the backbone for evidence based practices, and it helps in decision making as well as in creating the policies. See what happens that when there we have started some, we have taken some new drug, like in our this COVID, lots and lots of the drugs are under trials, repurposing. Tocilizumab is there, remdesivir is there. So what happens that when all the data that they are for case studies and from various types of the studies, finally then when we accumulate and we critically appraise those studies, after maybe after 1 to 2 years of the trials, it will help us to find out that whether actually that drug worked or not. So this is the pedagogy, how drug development or how we are going for the clinical trials as well. So first and foremost thing that a scientific literature review helps us, it will help us to understand whatsoever has been done within 10 to 15 years, so that we may find out the gaps, we may find out the, we may find out the gaps, we may find out the strengths, we may find out the limitations, and we may also figure out that what went wrong, why this has not been worked, so that those decisions will, those wrong or decisions will not be like, will not be conducted or will not be, we will not repeat them again. So overall, in the overall scientific fraternity, this literature review has a very high impact, and it will helps us to actually, this literature reviews will further act as a fuel for ongoing research. right? With the literature reviews only, we will be able to find out the gaps, and then it will act as a you can say it's a fuel for further research. Now let's talk about the different type of the reviews. As I mentioned in the very first line, the with and without critical analysis of published events. So first type of review that comes that stands in the medical writing is a scoping review. Have you guys heard about this type of review, scoping review?
No, ma'am.
No one has heard about scoping review, guys.
No, ma'am.
That's great.
No, ma'am.
Okay. See what happens when we want to when we are starting a research, we are not directly landing to the topic. First, we need to land the area, and this thing I think most of when we are at the students, our teachers will say, "Okay, in which area you are interested to work?" Right? We all might have come across with this question. What is your area of interest? What do you want to work? This is such a vague question that I want to work on, on aliens, but it's not possible for me. So anyhow, this scoping review is the first type of the review that helps you to define a area of research, not the topic. Before landing to the topic, it will help you out to go with the area. For instance, I say that I want to work for nanobiotechnology. So nanobiotechnology is huge, it's huge, but the area is through this scoping review, you can see that what are the latest developments that has been, worked upon in the past 5 years, in the latest 1 year, what type of research has been carried out. So the scoping review informs about the broad area of research. It will help you to explore the extent of research and map and summarize the evidences. See, this is just like a scoping review is very much like, you can say the GPS, because once you enter the thing, you will first find a map of that area, and then when you are done with that area, then you can get to that location, exact location. So this is how, as a when we are about to start the research, we have to always start with a scoping review, try to find out what happened in that field, and then how to summarize those evidences that a scoping review is going to tell you. So overall, when it is such a broad thing, guys, right? So we cannot perform the quality of the evidences. We can just say that, okay, in 10 years, we found that in nanobiotechnology, 25 papers, or in this last year, I found that related to nanotechnology, some 1,000 papers have been published. Out of those 1,000 papers, I may see that 100 papers were related to drug development, 100 were related to targeted therapy, another 100 papers were related to some, bioavailability. So you can only find out the broader aspects of the evidences. That's why it is not possible for a medical writer to perform the quality of evidences. We can only just judge that what has happened in that field. So that is why the major limitations for a scoping review is the biased risk of bias of evidence, because it is completely depending upon the selector. Selector means the person who is performing this scoping review. He may be very selective in picking the articles, and that is why these scoping reviews have higher risk of bias of the evidences. So let's see one example, guys, of this scoping review. I have taken one example, guys, nicotine and tobacco research, and it is not very like delayed. It's of 2020 publication. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So this entitled that a scoping review of foci, trends, and gaps in the reviews of tobacco control research. So you can identify the area this review is talking about is tobacco control research, right? So now tobacco control, there are many therapies. So this analytical framework was used to address the following review question. Which tobacco control strategies are being addressed in published reviews, right? For each strategy, what is the nature of topics covered by the research in reviews? Who are the target population being addressed in the reviews? And how is equity integrated into the reviews? See how beautifully this article has acclaimed for the review questions. So this is a quality of a medical writer, that while it is too broad, they are very clear with the type of the review questions, that okay, I want to see these aspects. Now you can see that action areas, no critical analysis done. The authors found total of 658 papers, and out of these 658 papers based upon the abstracts, they have identified the areas. So I hope that with this example, you will be able to understand the importance of scoping review. No technology, nothing. Just the clear-cut segregation of what is reported, all is reported related to this area. And then see, he has gone for the second question. What was the target population? That 25 papers have talked about general adults, young adults, individuals, societies, community, something not specified, and then healthcare. So a very generalized but clear-cut analysis that what is actually required. And finally, how much number of articles published with respect to each field. So this is what a scoping review is all about. With the scoping review, when you understood that, okay, these are the points, these are the strategies, then you can pick up any one of the point and further initiate your research for your whatsoever reason you want to do the research. So that is the role of a scoping review. But only thing is that the problem of biasness, maybe the authors might have, they have just avoided one or two strategies. We are not sure how many articles they have picked about. Then that is why there is risk of biasness. But overall, the scoping review is needed to have a complete framework about any field. Any question, guys, related to scoping review? Are you with me, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything that you feel you want to ask related to scoping review?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, Bharashri.
survey type of reviews are done, and does this review come under scoping reviews?
Survey is if you are going, see, survey is a, you can say, a quantitative study where you will be dealing with the data, है ना?
Yes.
And here you are only analyzing the published data. So this is the difference between a survey and a scoping review.
Okay, ma'am.
Shall I move ahead, guys?
Ma'am, I have to.
Yes.
Most of the papers are like this in this scoping review.
What?
Most of the papers in this scoping review are like this only. I mean, the collecting of published data and they published this is so much. I mean, this is the data that they have published. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's what they only publish scoping review.
No, I didn't get you, Ram.
Actually you shown an example. Like, showed an example there. So most of the papers are like this only in scoping review.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, there's a question. What would be the difference between systemic review and scoping review?
Systemic review. See, systemic review has a clearly defined question. When we are doing a systematic review, we are working on a very specific question. And in the scoping review, forget about the question. We did not even landed up to the topic. We are only, over one area, restricted towards the area of a study, not even the topic of the study. Shall I move ahead, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So I hope that, but this scoping reviews, people when they are starting their research, they don't know where to start. So you have to start with a scoping review, guys, where whatsoever you want to do a research in that field, right? So now next is the type of review is literature or a narrative review. A literature review is generally what we used to write for our, dissertation thesis. We do the literature review. Then whatsoever our BSc, MSc, BDS, MDS, and PhD. So we used to go for lots and lots of literature review. So this type of narrative review is simply the synthesis of the collection of the findings that is already been published, and we have to prepare the summary based of the available literature. So again, these literature reviews are of qualitative nature, but this time the literature reviews, we can say it has to be related to some topic. And up till now, scoping review, we have been restricted to area, for example, tobacco research. Now, from the tobacco research, if you are strictly coming to one strategy and writing about that strategy, then this is known as a literature or narrative review. So let's take an example again, guys, for a literature review sample. I've taken this example of a literature review about curcumin, a review of its effects on human health. So you can see a simple, first they have talked about the introduction, what are the health benefits, and simply jotting off this mechanisms of actions, whatsoever, antioxidant, in what fields, in arthritis related to this. So simple summation. There is no quality analysis of the data, no critical analysis of the data. So again, the risk of bias is very much high in case of these reviews. What will happen, see, when we have talked about the curcumin, most of the time we will the author may be highly selective and picky, that okay, I will only take the good parts. It's up to the intention of the author, that what it wants to report more. Maybe if somebody is targeting the adverse events related to that, so he may sabotage the good effects. So there is no quality evaluation. He may selectively pick the studies, that okay, I will be taking 5 studies for that related to arthritis. So overall, the literature or the narrative review. Now you can see these side effects, just a very small column. So finally, but these literature reviews also, the what is the importance, why the people are then publishing if it is so much of risk of bias? Because again, it will help you to get by reading the one paper, you can get the outcomes that has been published in the previous 10 years. Not completely, so at least 60 to 70% studies that has been conducted in the past 5 years, you will get by reading just one paper. You will going to get all the information from this. So this is the second type, and trust me, the most extensive form of literature review that has been written, especially in India. We used to we at some time of point, if we want to see, okay, let's write something, then we will say, okay, then let's write a review article. So that is our perception of writing as a medical writer. But this is important, but a little bit outdated also, guys, in this current format. So you want to ask anything, guys, related to this literature review?
Ma'am, I'm having one question.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have mentioned the risk of biasness is very high in this literature review. So how can we validate the information for our writing?
Yes, how we can validate by using a better format of review article. See, everyone is pyramids.
Yes, ma'am.
I have not drawn a pyramid here, but just imagine it in your mind. So the as we move towards the head, the food chain or whatsoever, we become very selective and very picky. So you at the base, with the first base of a pyramid, if we likely to draw for these review articles, the foundation will come for your scoping review. Above the scoping review, next comes the literature or a narrative review. But then slowly as we move ahead and we will moving towards the top, we start introducing the critical appraisal of the evidences. We start to be highly critique. We start evaluating the quality of evidences and judging the risk of bias, and then giving the score to the evidences, that whether these quality of evidences are of good quality, poor quality, moderate quality, or excellent quality. So this is how we will move ahead as we move, as we move up in our pyramid. So the second and very basic type of review is a literature review. Difference between a scoping review and a literature review is that one is dealing with an area, another one is dealing with the topic. The similarity is what? Similarity is both type of reviews are dealing with the qualitative evidences at the level of evidences at qualitative nature. They are of informative and subjective in nature, and they don't involve any critical analysis or quality assessment of the evidences. Okay. So now let's move to the third type of review, which is a critical review. Now from here, we start introducing the critical appraisal of the evidences that we are collecting from the literature. So a critical review is again the summarization and evaluation of ideas and information in an article. But you have to, for each and every study that you are considering for a critical review, you have to jot down, you have to write down the strengths and the weakness of the material which is under review. So based upon the strengths and weakness, you have to give the judgment of the review, that what are the quality of evidences. So let's again see it with the example. Can you see, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Critique of the review of water fluoridation for the prevention of dental caries. It is published by Cochrane Collaboration in 2015. What this article intend to do? To discuss and critically recent published review of effectiveness of water fluoridation, highlights the lost opportunity to evaluate the majority of recent studies to answer research question and to suggest. So as I have written in the PowerPoint slide, that first you have to critically analyze the data, and then finally you have to provide your judgment about the data. So you can see they have done about the introduction, how the article is formulated, a base introduction, validation programs, and the most important aspect is criteria for including studies and quality assessment. So what is the criteria these guys have told? They guys have selected requirement for at least 2 points in the time for positive reference community when evaluating this. So overall, what I want to say is the opinion. Critical reviews generally derives the opinion, and by just analyzing the evidences, the pros and cons of the evidences. Now, when you compare it with this curcumin review, the article has only talked about the evidences that this study told this is, but when you are talking, uh, can you see my this guys? So only thing is that to start a critical, this critical review is actually, we have better options than this, but just to start a sample for that, we have to just look for each and every study, what is the limitations and what is the strengths of the study. So this is how a critical review is written for, is another form of the study, but this is not very much a very popular version of a review. So now the most important, and this is actually in practice, the writing of a systematic review. So systematic review is a review where you have to work upon a clearly formulated question. So coming from the what area, then topic, and now we have to come to a question. So what are the primary requirements to start a systematic review is to have a very good research question. So how to create a research question? Yesterday also I was telling you about PICO. I have informed you na guys about PICO.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is PICO is the key foundation for a systematic review. Now let's understand the systematic review with this example. This paper, it has worked upon effect of curcumin on cognitive functions, a systematic review of RCT. So first of all, its intention is very much clear that they are going to only analyze the studies conducted as randomized controlled trials. So you can see here the method section. The review was pre-registered with Prospero. This is the agency where we have to register the review. It is not very much mandatory, but because since systematic reviews are so much time taken, so you have to register it into your name. So first thing is the development of research question, see through the PICO's model: the population, the intervention, the comparator, the outcome, and the settings. So what population they have used? They are very clear that they will be only using the studies where human population aged 50 years or over that, either healthy older or people with subjective memory complaints or diagnosed form of dementia. So, if there, other than that, there are many forms of dementia, Alzheimer's disease also. So, this study will not be taking such type of the studies. They are very clear. They have defined the population. Then finally, the intervention, the RCTs that investigating the effects of curcumin supplementation for at least 4 weeks or longer. So if any studies that have used curcumin less than 4 weeks, the study will be excluding such as this is review or this systematic review will be excluding such studies. So what happens, guys, that in case of the systematic review, you have to set a inclusion and exclusion criteria, and you have to select the studies based upon the exclusion and inclusion criteria, and this gives rise to the Prisma model. So then whom it will be, you will be comparing. This guy have compared human comparators. It will be a placebo or a control intervention. Then very strong outcomes to validate the cognitive measures, biochemical measures, and adverse effects. So how they have done this literature review? First, they have gone through these 5 types of the databases, and then they have typed these keywords, and after typing these keywords whatsoever, this is their search strategy. You can see after doing this search strategy, the total records they founded from all these databases is 656. Other than that, they also found 4. All those duplicates were removed. Then after these duplicates, they have analyzed based upon the titles and abstracts. All these things they found 607, and but out of 607, 600 was means it's gone out on the basis of exclusion criteria, and 7 they have landed up. Out of 7 also they have excluded because things are not matching, and only 5 articles were used for their systematic review. So coming back to this, first of all, the primary importance of a systematic review is you have to work upon a very focused research question. You have to employ a comprehensive and reproducible search strategy. You have to assess the results based upon inclusion and exclusion criteria. You have to do the quality assessment. There is called Cochrane's risk of bias assessment. There is a tool, many tools are there for quality assessment, and then finally you can find out the results for a systematic review.